Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, how are you? I hope you're having a great start to your day. And I'll say hello to a few friends before we get going with question and answer Friday. And as you get your notifications, here we go. And Brahim, you're back to number one, my friend. And Janice, Brampton. And Andrea, Niagara Falls. Janice, you moved up there, my dear. Jude, Troy, New York. And Sandy from Minnesota. Carol, how are you from Moncton? Kevin, Oshawa. Fran from Orangeville. Madeleine, Kippawa, Quebec. Nellie, how are you? Donna from Park Hill. And Gertie, how are you? Grace from The Rock, Newfoundland. We love you out there. Nancy, Iowa. Maryland, Kelowna, bright and early. And Richmond Hill, Sandy, I think. Donna, Bell Valley. Nancy, Gore's Landing. Shirley, Twin Gate, Newfoundland. Wendy, Markham. Paul, how are you? Annalisa, North Bay. Rita, Wasaga. Karen, Little Britain. Donna from Newfoundland. Dave, how are you from Muskoka? Darlene, South Carolina. Maryland, Edmonton. Brenda, Campbell River. British Columbia, I believe. Rosalinda, how are you? Francis. And Peggy, good morning. Patricia. And Eva. And Chantal from Sudbury, Ottawa. Carol, Wasaga Beach. Jean from Florida. And Diane, Thunder Bay. John, hello to you too. Yvonne, Petawawa. Betty, Lively, right in our backyard. Judy, Port Perry. Margaret, Lakeland. And Evangeline, Cape Breton. Two more. I couldn't see it. St. Petersburg, Florida. Who's that? Jean, Peterborough. Maria, Ottawa. And Donna saying good morning to Sissy. Rosa, Montreal. Karen, Peterborough. And Nativity. And Janine, how are you? Sharon from Kansas, and I guess it's getting colder out there. Cheryl, I don't mean to miss you. Marl from Ottawa, good morning. We love you guys. Brenda, yep, Campbell River, British Columbia. Heather, Nicole from Magog, Quebec, bonjour. Carol, up in the clouds. Lise, how are you? Okay, let's get to our question. Joke is asking a question about vitamin A. From fish and animal foods. Yep. How many units does he suggest to take daily? Well, I don't. Usually. Shauk? Look, I'm a big guy on eating certain things to get certain vitamins. Not that I don't supplement, I sure do. But generally, if you're eating eggs, meat, and cheese, you're getting vitamin A. Vitamin A is only found in the animal kingdom. The carotenoids, beta-carotene, and all that are not vitamin A. They're a precursor to vitamin A. So I'm big on eating vitamin A. Eating it. Now, I've had people where I've supplemented vitamin A. Okay? For example, if someone was a vegan or vegetarian, they should be taking vitamin A as a supplement. I would have them on probably about 5,000 to 10,000 IUs a day. I've had people that with severe digestive and they don't absorb anything, malabsorption syndromes, I'll put them on vitamin A. A lot of times with certain skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, even though it's leaky gut, I would put them on a dosage of vitamin A for them. Acne, oftentimes I put on a dosage of vitamin A. But generally, Joe, eat your vitamin A, okay? Eat it. It's like for example, your B vitamins. Now, B12 is a different puppy because it's got, it's not an easy vitamin structurally to absorb at the best of times. And clinically, I found people were extremely low generally in B12. And, I talk about that all the time, but, the point is, you can eat your B vitamins. That's why you don't hear me talking about it so much. Now, B12, like I say, that's a little bit of a different puppy. But generally, when you eat eggs, meat, and cheese, you're getting all your B vitamins in a much more bioavailable form. So vitamin A, I like. I used to give, certain kids cod liver oil. Very low levels of vitamin D and A, but it was good for them. I like cod liver oil. It's, my mother used to give us cod liver oil. Okay. Question. Claudette, can a 9-year-old take magnesium? Sure you can. You ain't overdosing on magnesium. Your body needs magnesium. Magnesium does, over 300 things in your body. Now, generally, a child, if they're eating properly, they get their magnesium to some extent, but it's not in the soil like it used to be. But to give a couple of 100 milligrams of a 9-year-old, easily 400 milligrams of magnesium citrate or biglycinate, no issues at all to help them sleeping. No reason not to give magnesium. You can give them an Epsom salt bath. You get your magnesium salts. It's good for you. Okay, and I guess, Claudette, you're a 9-year-old having a hard time sleeping. Yeah, you can give them some magnesium for sure. Hannah, what is a FibroScan? Does it have any side effects? Well, that's for your liver. They're checking to see the fatty liver, more for any scar tissue in the liver. It's a liver test, FibroScan. It's not very invasive. I like it. I got no problem with it. You know what I think about liver, and, people are walking around, they have no idea they got a fatty liver. Now, FibroScan's more for scarring and, cirrhosis of the liver to make sure there's no of that, scarring there. But anyway, yeah, I got no problem with it, Hannah. Carol, a few years ago, I had blood clots in my right leg. Now that same leg has blood vessels that are raised and swollen. Yep. You've got probably some venous insufficiency there, and seems to be increasing over time. What is the best way to treat that lymphedema in my right leg? Well, anything that helps blood supply. Navitol would be my first choice, the best. Inside the blood vessels, omega-3, especially the DHA, will lubricate those blood vessels. Very, very, very good for that. Inflammation, part of it. Curcumin, I like that. So, but the big one, in my opinion, is Navitol. That would be the best one. Elevates the nitric oxide. Very, very good for you. Noeline, if you make pork bone broth, okay, is it healthy? Yeah. Yeah, sure it is. I don't know if it's ever been measured that I've seen, but bone broth is tremendous. Pork, bone broth, why not? Be good for you, for sure. Okay, that was Noeline. Suzanne, will we ever eat grains again? Well, look, I guess the question is after the reset, right? Also, will my metabolic storm start once again once I'm done with the reset? Well, I mean, look, the reset is really important if you're in a metabolic storm, okay? And you have your hormones are completely out of whack. You start with food, and the reset is the best. You're getting the best fuel. Now, will you ever eat grains again? Well, let me tell you this. Don't live on them. Ever. They're highly overrated. Okay? And you don't need them. Does that mean you'll never have them again? I'm not saying that. But if you understand you don't need that, the reset is a lifestyle. It starts you off by lowering insulin resistance. Once you understand the importance of insulin and insulin resistance, and that it causes metabolic syndrome, and it puts your body on the Titanic, you're in deep trouble. Well, you just understand, okay, once I get that, and once I've done the reset, you can always do the reset after you've done it once. Do it for a week. Get back on track. You don't need grains to live on. You really don't. Okay? Doesn't mean you can't have some. If you are metabolically well and you've taken yourself off that 93% of the population, and now you're part of the 7% of the population that is healthy metabolically, not many, but you're there. And now, you can reward yourself a little bit. I don't know if I call it a reward or cheating or whatever. Look, here's me. I always give people a plan to succeed, not to fail. Okay? It's your birthday. You want to have some pasta. I'm not against that. Okay? I'm not against it. I married Natalia. Now, there's better pasta, but at the end of the day, don't live on it. Don't live on it. That's what I'm saying, okay? So don't look at it as a negative thing. Look at it as a lifestyle. And eating is something you can control, and it's so important to stay on the narrow road and not just follow everybody else's eating patterns. I mean, we are the sickest society in the world, is us folks in North America. I mean, we are unbelievable for the amount of money that we spend. We talked about that earlier this week. We're getting no bang for the buck, and the biggest problem we have is food, and most people have no idea. And most doctors have no idea. I hate to say it, but they don't. And often they don't even equate food with health. Okay. That was Suzanne. Charlene, can prostatitis be treated naturally to help? Well, usually whenever I saw prostatitis in my office, I usually was the last person they saw. Okay? The man was on antibiotics round after round, and I used to treat it naturally. I really did. I put them on a broad spectrum probiotic. essential. I put them on oil of oregano, essential, because there's usually a bacterial, chronic prostatitis, there's usually a bacterial infection in there, low grade, it's sitting in there. It's, so I put them on that. I had them on Navitol because that opens up the blood supply there, decreases the swelling. Curcumin. Yeah, I treated it a lot of times. I saw it lots. Okay. Kim, wondering why Dr. Martin recommends curcumin as a supplement for beneficial of dementia. Well, because it's anti-inflammatory. Curcumin is anti-inflammatory. I like it as an anti-inflammatory. And when you get dementia, look, it's not just inflammation. Inflammation is part of dementia. But it's not the cause of dementia. Okay? Now remember, dementia, like you can have different forms of it, but what we do, what we care about is, number one, the food going up to the brain. Remember, brain is headquarters. Takes 25% of your food that you eat. Whatever you choose, the brain says, okay, come here. You owe me 25% of that. Because it's headquarters. It runs the show. Okay? With the gut. Anyway, so I like curcumin because it's a tremendous anti-inflammatory. But for the brain, again, headquarters, eggs, meat, and cheese. Remember what Alzheimer's is? Type 3 diabetes. And dementia a lot of times is diabetes of the brain. Even without diabetes. You know, official diabetes. The last thing to happen is high blood sugar. The first thing to happen is insulin resistance. The body gets sick and tired of that hormone insulin coming around. And the cells, even your brain cells, resist it. And most people with dementia are swimming in an ocean of glucose and not ketones. They're swimming in it. It's like swimming in the Atlantic Ocean, but you can't drink the water. The brain is flooded with glucose. And I like curcumin because it is anti-inflammatory. And whenever you get insulin resistance, your body responds to it by creating inflammation. Okay. And curcumin is very good for the liver. Empty liver, very, very good for detoxing the liver. Bessie, what is your recommendation for a diet for someone having the pancreas sectioned and spleen removed? Well, I would have them eating eggs, meat, and cheese. Look, the pancreas, it's going to release pancreatic enzymes. You might be taking some digestive enzymes for sure, but your pancreas, the big job is releasing insulin. If you don't eat a lot of sugar and crappy carbohydrates, you're giving your pancreas a rest. So if a piece of it is coming off, you want to use it less. You'll always use it, but less. So that's what I recommend. And the spleen, same thing. You know, the spleen is very important for making, red blood cells. Eggs, meat, and cheese. Okay. Louise, I have seen a few people as they walk, the leg moves very quickly. But it seems to be in their knee, and they use a walker. Name it. What is it? Louise, I got to think about it. I don't know. Like, is this a trick question? Like, let's stump Dr. Martin. I don't know. I got to think about it. I'm not going to answer it right now. Maybe I'll think about it as I'm answering other questions. I don't know what you're saying, really. But, okay. Deborah, what can I do for pain in the metatarsal and toes? My foot is acting up and the urate in blood test was flagged. Well, if it was flagged, there's a very, very good chance, Deborah, that you have gout. Okay, uric acid. If that was flagged, you probably got gout. And gout, look, the biggest cause of urate, elevated uric acid, the biggest cause of that, your kidneys are supposed to flush that out. Everybody makes urate. Everybody does. It's that if you retain it and it stays in your, and look, it's a byproduct. Urate is a byproduct of your metabolism, especially fructose metabolism. So I don't know you, Deborah, but you don't want to be taking any high fructose corn syrup, which is the biggest reason that uric acid goes up. Insulin resistance, that's what it usually means. You're resistant to insulin. Start in the liver. The liver and kidneys are two organs that are very much involved in uric acid. Very much. Urate made in the liver, and if your kidneys is what gets rid of it. And they go together. And usually I find some form of fatty liver, insulin resistance, and lay off the carbohydrates, especially the sugar, and never drink sugar. Don't drink it. A lot of people have gout, and they don't realize that because all they've been told is purines. And the king's disease. And the king had too much uric acid because he was eating too much meat? Nah, because he was drinking too much wine. Fructose. Okay. And beer. Thanks, Deborah. Brenda, what are your thoughts on taking an online course on being a naturopathic practitioner? Well, Brenda, look, you want to educate yourself? Just understand a couple of things, okay? You got to understand this because I'm going to say it. I'll say it a million times. A lot of stuff you're going to take, if you take a course like that, you have to undo. Because generally, almost every course I've seen, don't eat meat, eggs, limit, dairy, no. It goes against, I don't want to say common sense, but look, the narrative today, I've been going on a long time. Cholesterol is the boogeyman. You'll see it there in almost every course. So be careful. Okay, that's one. I mean, look, just understand, you're going to hear two sides of it. You're going to hear me on a daily basis. And then a lot of times you take courses. Look, I took nutrition. I took over 2,000 hours of it. Wow, a lot more than that now. But I'm talking about undergraduate and postgraduate. I had to undo most of it. But in order to get my degree, I had to go along with it. But I knew it was wrong. When they blame salt for what sugar does, when they blame cholesterol for what inflammation and insulin does. When they do all that, you got to undo it in your mind. So look, if you want to get a diploma, and the other thing, depending on where you are, Brenda, okay, like if you're in Ontario, you ain't going to be able to put a shingle out and tell people you're a naturopathic practitioner. Well, you could do it, but the naturopathic college might come after you. You got to be careful. I would be more of a coach, and you can coach people, okay? Because the professions are, I'm talking about my home province of Ontario, but in Canada, they're pretty rigid, meaning they don't want you in their space. And so I like more courses where you become a coach. Anyway, I'm just telling you that, Brenda, but I got no problem with it. I mean, you want to get more educated, but just understand you're going to get, like a lot of the stuff is the narrative. It's generalized, and especially on nutrition, I just find it to be misleading. Okay. Ruth, I know Dr. Martin doesn't comment on blood work. Well, I don't comment so much on individual blood work. I comment every day on blood work. Okay? I talk about LDL, HDL, triglycerides, uric acid. I talk about B12 levels, vitamin D levels. I talk a lot about blood work, but individual, I don't do that. I'm not in practice anymore. So I just, when I don't have a full blood work in front of me, it's okay. Anyway, I would like his opinion on family hereditary LDL. Well, Ruth, even though all cholesterol is good for you, is there such a thing as a too high number? I'm in the double digits. No, in my opinion. I have to emphasize, okay? I have to emphasize. Cholesterol is not the boogeyman. And I know familial or whatever, that doesn't make you more susceptible to heart disease. It doesn't. Genetics, it does nothing for you in a sense. And it's not cholesterol that gives you heart disease. Cholesterol, your body needs it. Now, you got to understand that. If your triglycerides are high, that makes you much more susceptible to heart disease. If your triglycerides are high, if your HDL is low, that makes you much more susceptible to a heart attack or stroke. Okay? Now that's just facts. And I know, there's a lot of pressure on because they look at blood work and they, 99% of every physician has been trained to flag cholesterol as the boogeyman. It's just the way their training is. If you think we're going to undo it? I don't think so. Not in my lifetime. Now, I like to educate. I'll give you my opinion. And I'm not telling you, I don't tell people not to listen to their doctor or whatever. I'm just giving information. And I write about it. I talk about it. And I just don't see cholesterol the way medicine looks at cholesterol. I just don't do it. And I look at every study on cholesterol, and I haven't been convinced at all that it's the boogeyman. Cholesterol's on your side. And when you got LDL, this big part of your immune system and this and that, you got low LDL, you're going to die young. You got low HDL, you're going to die young. Ruth. Jag. I think I'm saying this right. Jacqueline. No, Jacqueline. Jacqueline. Sorry, Jacqueline. What is the difference between taking DIM by itself versus DIM in either your hormonal formula or your menopausal? What's the difference? Just taking it by itself. Is flaxseed just as good as DIM? Well, flax seeds really do block estrogen. Why would you take DIM? Block extra estrogen. We live in an estrogen-dominated world. And especially when we're surrounded by xenoestrogens. Your body thinks it's estrogen. So, I know it's not in your blood so that you can test it, but trust me when I tell you, we live in an estrogen-dominated world. Men and women. Do I love DIM? Yep. Menopausal formula has DIM. Our hormonal formula has DIM. And flax seeds work at it another way by a compound in there called lignans. Okay? So that's why I like flax seeds, because they have the highest source of lignans of all the seeds. Okay? People used to ask me about hemp seeds. Well, don't smoke them. You can have some hemp seed if you want. Not bad for you. But there's nothing like flax seeds. So if estrogen dominance is a huge problem today, which it is. I mentioned the other night at our seminar at Collège Boreal. I wrote a book. Where is that chart, if I have it? 2 hormones that want you dead. I'm looking behind me. I probably put it somewhere that I can't see. It's probably right behind me. Anyway, I wrote a book in 2011, 2 hormones that want you dead. Insulin and cortisol. Insulin and cortisol. They go together in a lot of ways. And here's another one that wants you dead. Estrogen. It's a growth hormone. In men, it lowers testosterone. In women, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer. Estrogen is a growth hormone. Prostate cancer in men. I believe it's a big factor. Dim it out. Flaxseed it out of your body. You need that protection because of the world in which we live. We live in a different world. We live in a different world. Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, we'll do a few more here. Because it looks like Linda is asking, I wonder if Dr. Martin would give some information on Bacillus subtilis for supporting blood lipids and cardiovascular health. I really don't know, Linda, much about that. Like, I know what Bacillus subtilis is. I love Bacillus. Okay? Your bacteria start with an L, okay, and a B. Bifidus or lactobacillus. I don't know. Bacillus subtilis for supporting blood lipids and cardiovascular health. I'd have to read about it. And I don't know. I know some things that are much better for you than that. I don't know about just introducing that bacteria strain. I got to look it up. I'm not familiar what it does for blood lipids. I know what high DHA does for it. I know what the reset diet does for it. I know what Navitol does for it, but Bacillus subtilis, I've never had any experience with it in my practice that someone's, oh, this is what I'm taking to for my cardiovascular and lipids. I'm not familiar with it, Linda, for that. Okay, so I'm gonna Google it and look it up. Okay. Noeline, and let's stop here because hold on now. How many more questions? Yeah, probably. We gotta do a Monday, guys. Okay, and this is Noeline. I'm dealing with cancer. I heard that cancer will live on ketones if they don't have glucose. Is there any truth in that? I'm doing mostly the reset. No. Look, I discussed this weekend. I'm going to say yesterday, maybe. Can't remember what day it was. Cancer cells, when they're cells, okay, they need glucose, sugar, okay? And when tumors are there, they look for fat. They look for fatty acids. And that's why I talk about giving them the Trojan horse. Okay? The Trojan horse, which is a high DHA fatty acid. They allow it into the tumor and then the tumors get destroyed by the Trojan horse, high DHA. Now, ketones there's a lot of research on ketosis. And if you eat eggs, meat, and cheese, and you got cancer, you're eating the right food. Your cancer cells hate steak. Cancer cells don't like ketosis at all. Okay? They don't. They're renegade. And as a researcher in 1928 said, they're ravenous for sugar. Ravenous for sugar. Not ketones. Okay? And so, yeah, I disagree with, is there any truth in that? Well, I don't know who said it, but I don't agree with it. Okay, thank you very much, Noeline, for the question. Okay, Cliff's got a question. We'll talk about that Monday, because we got, there's another one on hypercholesterolemia from Dale. Anyway, we'll touch again. Andrea's asking about the germ theory. Yeah, I like that. We'll talk about that. Okay. Monday then. Okay, guys. It's November. Wow. Oh, I shake my head. Time flies. Okay. Housekeeping. Get over to the Doctors In podcast. Tell your friends all about it. Okay? They can hear my ranting. And they can listen at any time on their smart device. That's why they call them a smart device, I guess. Okay? And invite your friends, family, whatever, if they can join us live on our Facebook. Hey, wonderful. Okay, guys, we love you dearly. We'll talk to you soon.